If you would have told me back in April that this was how we were going to end our VCT season, I would have absolutely laughed in your face. I mean, no Fnatic, no Loud, no DRX, no NRG, but man, what a banger of an event we got for the first champions under the new franchise system. Let's go ahead and get down and do what it do. TLDR VCT Champions Edition. And if it's your first time through and you're wondering how the group stages broke down or even how the first weekend of playoffs went, I do have videos for that over here on the channel. Feel free to check those out. But today I do want to focus on our top four. Evil Geniuses and Paper-X in that upper bracket, and Fnatic looking for redemption against Loud. And even though Evil Geniuses would start off in the upper bracket finals on one of their strongest maps, Demon 1 would struggle, actually having the worst KD in the server. But even with that, EG would be able to rattle off the last 5 rounds, not only giving them the dub, but gaining the momentum that they would need to propel themselves forward to a 6-2 start on Bind. And even though EG won the pistol and eco in that second half, extending their lead to 9-5, Paper-X would come storming back, winning 8 straight defensive rounds, only needing to defuse a single time, otherwise just simply outslaying the new VCT villains, and returning the body sprays and adding in some teabags that they would get warned about by Riot. And Pearl would give us an exciting decision, a story of 2 teams gaining momentum, handing it back and forth, eventually going into overtime where Paper-X would be able to advance to the grand finals, not only guaranteeing themselves a top 2 finish, but earning that double veto power as well. So who would it be squaring off against Evil Geniuses in that lower bracket finals? Only time would tell, and lucky for Demon 1 and company, they didn't have to wait long, because Fnatic and Loud, they would deliver yet another banger, starting off with Fnatic opting to take the fight to Split, a map where they had won 9 of their last 11 games so far this year. The only problem being, Split is also one of Loud's stronger maps. Matter of fact, when these 2 squads faced off in the lock-in grand finals, Loud picked Split and won, which had to have had Fnatic fans worried heading to Ascent, a map that Loud had beat you in just a week prior in a game that went the distance. But once Fnatic got to that offensive side, they were firmly in control, winning 8 of 10 rounds, sending this series to a third and final map. But once on Haven, Fnatic really struggled to get anything going, only being able to win consecutive rifle rounds just once, meaning that this would be the first time that Fnatic would not be lifting the trophy at an international event this year. And while some might consider a 4th place finish to be a disappointment for the Superstar squad, they did finish as the only team to win 2 events this year, and the only team to finish top 4 in every international event. And Coach Mimi had some words for people after their matchup who might have thought that the map draft could have gone down differently.
Following the map vetoes, the general consensus was that Loud was advantaged in this series due to their strong performances on all 3 maps. It also looked as if Loud had a very strong preparation against you guys on the maps he played. In hindsight, do you think it would have been more favorable to float, or even pick, Pearl for the first time going into this match?
That's crazy.
Absolutely fucking no.
we haven't played now.
Like, why would you play Pro? Like, I love Reddit analysts. Like, why would we play a map that we haven't played all year? Like, the veto process this event for us, this game, was pick the maps that we're good at, and they're good at them too.
And that'd give us 2 America's teams squaring off against one another for a chance in the grand finals. EG having just been sent to the lower bracket by Paper-X, who would be waiting in the shadows for the winner of this matchup, and Loud, last year's champion, runner-up at lock-in, losing to the same Fnatic squad that they just beat to get here. And I'm sure Loud had to have some confidence. I mean, squaring off against a team who they beat in the upper bracket of the Americas playoffs, the Cinderellas, the squad that needed MIBR to beat 100 Thieves in the last day of the regular season to even make playoffs to just get here. But it did look like Evil Geniuses was going to make light work of things, because while Ascent did require overtime to win, they made light work of Lotus, meaning they would already be just 1 map away from earning their shot at redemption. But once on Pearl, Loud turned things up a bit, starting off with 6 straight rounds on offense, and while they did stumble just a bit at the start of their defensive half, they'd end up closing things up 13-8, and then they would rather quickly assert their dominance on Split, forcing a 5th and final map on Bind. And while it wasn't really about what Loud was doing wrong per se, Evil Geniuses just wouldn't be denied when it came to a shot at redemption and a chance to raise the trophy, starting off with a lead on offense and never surrendering consecutive rounds once they got to the defensive half, which would give us the matchup that we had just seen 3 days previous, Paper-X versus Evil Geniuses. And with Paper-X having that double map veto as the winner of the upper bracket final, you couldn't help but think that the map picks would end up favoring them, even if it is just slightly. But when we started off on Split, we would actually see EG going back to their double dive composition, putting Demon 1 back on the Jet, Boostio back on that Astra, and while they may have struggled a little bit on defense, they would absolutely feast once they got to that offensive side, winning 10 of 12 rounds, only losing 1 rifle round and that first bonus attempt after the second half. Which, I'll be honest, had me concerned for PaperX heading into Ascent, a map that PaperX actually had a losing record on in 2023 heading into this matchup, meaning they would be at risk of already being on match point. Even though it would end up going the distance, all 24 rounds, it would be PaperX coming out on top, meaning we would go into map 3 all tied up at 1. And for as much as Demon 1 gets talked about for being able to frag out of his mind, leading the way for this Evil Geniuses squad, on Bind it really would be Jogamo popping off, leading the charge with a 23, 12, and 4 stat line, leading the way with 5 first kills as well, letting EG win with ease on map 3, 13-5, sending us to Lotus on championship point. And on Lotus, we would see Potter make the call to switch things up again, Demon 1 back on the Astra, meaning that as long as we'd be able to keep things manageable on defense to start things off, they'd be in perfect position to wrap things up, giving their star player plenty of util to make the magic happen. And they were able to do just that, keeping it to a 2-point halftime deficit, and then on offense holding PaperX to just 3 rounds. And as we moved into those later rounds, in the 20s, the energy started to shift, and Evil Geniuses knew how this story was going to end, and that was with them lifting the trophy. And so that would mean that we would be winding down our wild and crazy first season in this new franchise era with the most unexpected of endings. I mean, let's be honest, Evil Genius is a team that couldn't even make a single LAN last season, criticized for even being selected for the franchise league, and doubted every single step of the way. They are your 2023 VCT champions, taking down an unlikely foe in PaperX, and hopefully we don't allow their legacy to be eclipsed by this meteoric rise of EG.
But I don't think the legacy for this version of PaperX is going to be missing the mark. I think the legacy for PaperX and this version with Jing is as the most fun team to watch in Valorant. That, to me, is their legacy. What they've done is brought this wave of enjoyment into every match that they've played, win or lose. You tune into a PaperX game, you know you are going to be reaping the joy and happiness out of that entertaining match that's on your screen. You just know you're guaranteed entertainment.
And that's going to wrap things up for the 2023 season. Y'all already know we're going to be keeping up with as much of the off-season news as possible right here on the channel, and we've already got our first off-season event starting here in the next month or so. So if you're wanting to keep up with everything VCT, or even a couple of other esport titles, since we do cover a couple of them over here, make sure you subscribe down below and turning those notifications on. Until we do catch y'all right back here on the channel, or wherever we cross paths next, man, don't forget, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere, game hard and love hard, all right, y'all? It's your boy Q, signing out.